So maybe we touched a little bit of the health challenges that you had. I mean, I wanted to touch the health from two perspectives. The first one is like giving birth in two different countries that are not your home. And then, of course, like more intense health challenges that you had, like navigating like Lyme disease and while living abroad. Maybe we start with the giving birth first. And how was that experience? Because I imagine, like, I mean, you said one in Bangkok and the other
one was in Seattle. So I did have one here in the United States. My oldest daughter, Kira, was born in the US, which was just like, the US healthcare system is what it is. But it's like when you go in to have a baby, like you're there for maybe 48 hours max, like depending on like the type of birth that you have and how things go with the baby. Obviously, if necessary, you're going to be there longer, but generally it's the sort of 36-hour time frame. And so I was like, I had her and we left and I felt completely unprepared. And I was like, what do I do with this tiny human? And which is pretty common. Conversely, then we were in living in Cambodia, but we were not allowed to give birth there. Just the like NICU care in case the baby came early just wasn't sufficient if something were to go wrong in pregnancy. So I went to Bangkok and I had Kate there, and it was like so great. One, everybody did speak English, so that barrier wasn't there. There's a lot of medical tourism there, so they really cater to especially Europeans and I think people from the Gulf. So, and then I did hire an Australian midwife to help me navigate the system. She lived there. She knew the system. I was coming in, right? I was like, I need some help would be great here. And she was wonderful. And 4 days after I had her, I was like, can I go home now? Like they were taking care of me. I was getting massages. I was having they were just helping take care of the baby. It was really different. I was like, okay, this is, very different from the US model. And actually a very wonderful model where the mother is more taken care of, which is not something you see in the United States, really.
Curious. I wasn't expecting that experience. I mean, I wasn't expecting that there is countries where you're not allowed to give birth either. But, I mean, it's not allowed. It's that probably they don't recommend
the company, right? Obviously, people give birth every day in Cambodia and it's fine, right? But just for my husband's work, they were like, we would prefer that you either go back to the
meeting
US,
certain criteria or whatever.
or go to this area where they have high risk pregnancy. They can facilitate that. So that was really why. It's always like kind of a weird thing because people have babies everywhere every day. So that's sort of the pregnancy side of things, which was, I think different than people would expect, right? When you talk about it. And then when we're talking about like Lyme disease and Hashimoto's, when we lived in Cambodia, I got bit by a bug of undetermined origin at the time. I can still remember it, where I was when it happened. And it just didn't heal. I was pregnant, so we just didn't know like kind of what was going on. And after I had Kate, it just still didn't heal. I was tired and I was like, okay, I have a baby, but I kind of know the difference between motherhood, new baby fatigue versus like this feeling that I'm sick, but I can't figure out like what's going on. And so I ended up coming back to the United States because we just couldn't figure out what was going on. And that's when I was introduced to naturopathic medicine. And I met a doctor in Seattle who really, actually diagnosed me with it, based on lab tests and other things like that. But that was the beginning of the journey. But then I had to leave again, so it wasn't like I could stay and be with my care team and really dive into it. I mean, I was walking around with all the medications, all the supplements, all the things, but I was still, basically on my own. And then we moved to Texas at that time, and there just wasn't the care there that I needed for Lyme disease. So I was always doing it remotely, which is not really ideal when you're dealing with a chronic illness like Lyme disease. And then I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune thyroiditis, which is a autoimmune disease. And that's really common when you have something like Lyme disease and to have that. But again, I was diagnosed with that when we were living in Nigeria. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do, because there's like lifestyle things that you're supposed to do, not eat gluten, not eat dairy, not eat soy, not eat all these things. And I was like, I'm in West Africa. Like, I don't
have a choice.
I don't have all of the things available to me all the time. Right. But I made it work. And then I wrote a book about it. But you know, it was hard to be away from my care team, but that's also what took me out of working in international development and working for the government, and then starting my own health coaching practice, and later became a functional medicine practitioner, because I know what it's like to be misdiagnosed, undiagnosed, all of the things, and then to also not have your care team with you. So I work with people remotely now. A lot of people that have Hashimoto's, or people that have Lyme, mold disease, things like that, that just have a harder time getting the treatment that they need in the conventional care system, which we need the conventional care system. There are just other, sometimes disease states that aren't treated as well in that system. So that's kind of what led me down the path to the work that I do now.
Interesting. I mean, I know very few about functional medicine, but I know very few about medicine in general. So it's not it's not my. I've luckily never been too sick, or like we said, some bones out or whatever. So for those like me, what is functional medicine? How do you describe the job that you do?
So we're really looking at the root cause of why you're sick, right? There's so much illness now that people are getting diagnosed with autoimmune disease, with Lyme disease is becoming much more prevalent, but that's a lot more due to things like global warming and just having those bugs in many other places now than they were before. And then, so we're looking at, okay, why are you sick? Let's not necessarily just throw medication at you. Let's really work on helping you get better and stay better. Medications most definitely have their place in this world. But, you know, we, especially in the United States, have a lot of chronic illness. And so it's working with people on that lifestyle, diet, things that people can do at home to help them feel better. But that doesn't always, you know, solve the problem. We're looking at also stress reduction and all of those things that we all talk about, that really is a causative factor in why so many people are sick now.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I wanted to ask you also, like mental health in general, like how was it to be abroad or be in a place, and then suddenly because of a bite of an insect, your world changes, no? Also because and that for sure was a toll on your mental health at some point.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And, you know, we were moving at that same time internationally. So back from Cambodia to Dallas, Texas, which also was not my home state. I didn't know anybody. I am completely alone in that environment as well. And my husband was traveling all the time for work. And so I was there with a baby and a 2-year-old. And I was really, really sick. And it was a very difficult time. Just mental health wise, I just never felt good. And when you don't feel good, your mental health really isn't great either, you know? And so I struggled. I won't say that I didn't. And so I was lucky enough to have like my mother-in-law and my mom come and help me, because I thought I could do it all. We're told, push through, do it all. You know, you've got this. Don't complain. And then one day I was just like, no. I can't actually do all of this on my own. I'm struggling. And so, I was lucky to have my mom and my mother-in-law be able to come and help me during that time. But it's just something that I think that needs to be addressed more often in people, even if you're not chronically sick, just in general, the amount of mental health issues that we see in the world because of stress and everything, life in general. And we're just told not to deal with it. And especially in the world that I live in, and we're all, how do I put this? Mental health was not always a something that
there was no awareness.
There was not a lot of awareness. Yeah,
absolutely. I think we come, most of us, from, unless the new generations, maybe they are changing a bit, but the our generations, everything was like, I don't know, like psychologists and psychiatrists were for mental problems, and that's it. And this whole like pushing and things, and okay, you are sad, just be happy, and things doesn't work like that. It's not that easy, Unfortunately, it would be very nice to be just like, okay, I force myself to be happy and that's it, and then that solves all of my problems. But it's not the reality. So,
but it's not how it works, right?
No, absolutely not.
So I think there's so much more awareness around it now, and that's good. Where, hopefully the younger generations will continue to carry that forward.
Nice. What about the fact of, I suppose you needed to explain that wherever you went, like arriving to a new place and with your medicines, which I don't know, you cross the border and they, okay, now I need to explain again, this is the medicine for that and this is for that. And then I don't know if you needed to do any regular check or anything in the doctor, you needed to explain everything again.
Yeah, and they don't, and like Lyme is a weird thing that's not always recognized by every doctor. They'll be like, you don't really have that, or, there's like a lot of weirdness around it. And so I actually would often just go back home, which is not ideal, but that's where my doctor was. And like, that's where I felt I was getting the best care. So I would usually go back, but it made it, it was tough because not everybody believes like, oh, you have Lyme disease, even though I clearly have paperwork that says that I do. So just re-explaining it and, being believed. Oftentimes people are sick and they're, especially women, and they're not, nobody believes them. So hitting up against that as well.
Maybe one last question before we jump to your life hack and advice. I moved 3-4 countries already now. How do you move all your stuff? It's the moving. It's always a nightmare. I'm trying to break a little bit the health moment, but it's just like, how do you do? Like, do you have do you take your husband jobs take care of it?
They do. So I am very lucky in that we have a certain weight limit, right? Okay. And so within that weight limit, we can ship items. And so in that aspect, I am very lucky because I know that a lot of people have to either get containers or they just sell everything and then they move. So we do have that luxury. I'll say it's a luxury to have the help with moving. But still, I find myself having to go through everything in the house. I'm like in that now, and even when you move every 2 to 3 years, you still accumulate a lot of stuff.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. So that's where I'm at now, is just like going through it. And then I have this sort of system of like stickers of things that I want to come with us on the airplane, things that are going to go in storage, and things that will come on the ship. So like, I've kind of gotten a little system over the last few years, and like those things that you need right when you get there, or to take with you. And now things will be different. This is the first time, like, we don't have toys, or we're not trying to, do that kind of stuff with the kids. So it's a little bit different. But I think moving is just stressful.
It is.
In general.
Yeah. How do you deal with it, actually? Because I know, like, always there is this, like, 2-3 months before the move where you start romanticizing where you are, and when you live for the last 2-3 years and everything, it's like, oh, I will miss this, and I will miss this food, and I will miss this coffee shop, and oh, I need to say goodbye to this one, to this person, to this other, and then
Yep.
arriving to a place blank, and it's just like, okay, what I'm doing
Yeah.
here now, I need to rebuild everything. It's a
Yep.
sensation that it's not easy to deal with. I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm in that romanticizing moment right now. And trying to see all the people, eat at all the restaurants, knowing that for me, like I love Mexican food and I know that that's not going to be obviously readily available in Cairo. And so I'm like eating it all the time. And my kids are like, not again, mom. Like we don't, or just the convenience of America, for better or worse. Like I can get whatever I need whenever I want it. And so just that mindset shift is, okay, things are just going to be a little different. And then getting there, and I am lucky in Cairo that I have a couple of friends. And so they're kind of setting, things up and helping me out. Like, this is the internet guy you want to use, or this or that, right?
The basic stuff, no?
The basics.
Internet provider, water provider, electricity provider, and here there is the best coffee of the city and the best restaurant to eat.
Absolutely.
Important information. Always.
Yeah.
And here is the book club of English speakers.
Yeah. Yes. And not just like people in the embassy. I want like, where are the English speakers, but like a broad scope of people, right?
Cool. I would say if we jump to I mean, we will get back to culture comparisons and deep diving, and I also have some questions from the audience, which I reserved from that, so I didn't ask them myself, but I let the audience ask them. But before we do that, I would ask you if you have any major piece of advice, any life hack that you would like to share, that you would say, okay, this is what I recommend everyone to do when moving abroad?
Yep. I have two. Be flexible, because if you think that everything is going to work like your home country or the place you've just been in, you're going to be upset more often than not, right? Like, because things are just different everywhere and they work differently. So try to be as flexible as possible and, understand that things aren't going to be exactly the same, which is probably why you're moving too. It's part of the process. And then really find that community, start nurturing a community as soon as you can.